Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Stamp and Chat with Gina K. I am Gina, and I would like to welcome all of you from all over the country and all over the world to our Friday night PJ party. It is Flashback Friday. We haven't done a Flashback Friday in a while, and tonight we're going to go back and use a couple of older stamp sets along with maybe a newer technique to me, but I'm sure that you guys probably have seen something similar to this, but maybe in a different way. So welcome. I hope you guys can see everything okay. I hope you can hear everything okay. Let us know if there's anything weird, and also Tom is behind the computer back there. So he is monitoring all of your questions for me. And if you have any questions, he will let me know and we will try to get those answered throughout the broadcast tonight. So tonight's theme is trust your journey. So we're all on a different journey and we're all on a different time frame of the way that journey is going to play out. And I have a great quote for you to end the show. And I just want to say that, don't compare yourself to anyone else. And I know we do that a lot when we're watching social media. We get on Facebook, we get on Instagram, we see these fantastic pictures and these fantastic lifestyles, but just remember not to compare your real life with somebody else's highlight reel, because that's what that is. Social media is a big highlight reel of all the best stuff. So we'll get to that at the end of the show, but tonight I wanted to start with something really cool. So my friend, Sue Langford, she has been a longtime friend and customer of Gina K Designs. And when I say a longtime customer, she was probably one of our very first customers. So she got in touch with me not that long ago, and she asked me if I would be interested in one of our very first stamp sets. She had a few that she just wasn't using anymore, that she never got to, and she wanted to know if I wanted to keep them almost like for the Gina K Designs Museum. And I was all over that. I said, yes, I would love to. So she sent me one of these, and I want to show you what our stamp sets used to look like. So if we can go to that overhead camera. So this is one of the stamp sets that Sue sent me. Isn't this cool? Okay, so this was our old logo. And I remember way back, this was probably in maybe 2006, 2007 probably. I was actually on the phone with a friend of mine, Nicole Hetty, from Paper Tray. And she and I were talking, and my logo originally had been black and red. And I said to her, I just want to do something completely different. So she helped me design this. This is actually my handwriting. And she helped me design this logo. And our little catchphrase was Gina K Designs, stamps with personality. And then the picture of the stamp set was on back of the tin. This stamp set was called Comfort and Peace. This is one maybe we should bring back out of the vault because this was an excellent stamp set. And a lot of people really like this one. And so when you opened your stamp set, it came in a tin. When you opened your stamp set, it was a full sheet of rubber, just like this. And then it was on cling cushion, and you would pull this backing off, and then you would take scissors and cut out your individual stamps and then store them in the tin, and they would stick to the tin because they were a cling cushion. But isn't that interesting how different everything was back then? I mean, this was like the hottest thing. We were kind of on the cutting edge of cling cushion. This was back when Stampin' Up! Was selling their sets in blocks, and you would cut the rubber out and mount them on the blocks and put the sticker on. So this is from way back. I don't even know. Does this have a, yeah. Okay, this was 2008. So we had a lot of stamp sets over those 2 years that came in this same kind of tin. So, okay, I'm going to just brighten up this camera because it sounds like, sorry if you see some things here, but I'm going to brighten up the camera a bit, and you guys can let me know if that looks better. Okay, Tom gave me the okay, so I will just get rid of this. There we go. Okay. So hopefully you can see that better, and that's what the stamps look like. I think that's really cute and funny. All right. So tonight, what we're going to do is we're going to create a rainbow window. So I have a piece of white cardstock here, and this cardstock measures. I'm going to use my MISTI for the measurements because I'm actually going to be using my MISTI for something different than I usually use it for. But this measures 4 inches by 5.5 inches. And the reason why I'm starting at this measurement, that is not actually a very good cut for 5.5 inches. Let me get my ruler and see what I did here. I'm gonna have to cut a new one. But the reason why I started with these plain measurements, like 4 inches by 5.5, oh, that's right. Okay, maybe my MISTI's a little bit off. So 4 inches by 5.5, because it's an easy number to divide in half. All right, so I'm going to just keep that piece of cardstock in there, and then I'm going to get out my masking magic. Now, if you guys haven't tried masking magic, it is definitely something that you will love. It comes with 12 sheets of 5x7 masking paper. And this masking paper is awesome because it doesn't tear your cardstock at all when you pull it off. And if you're careful, you can reuse the masks. I'm sure we're all sick of hearing about masks. But tonight we're talking about masks again. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I am going to cut 1/4 inch strips. And rather than trying to come down here and figure out what a 1/4 inch is, I'm going to start here at the 5-inch mark, and I'm just going to move it down to 4 3/4. And when I have that all lined up, I'm going to cut that. And so now I have a perfect 1/4 inch strip. And I'm going to cut 6 of these. And I'm doing it the long way because I want to make sure it's going to cover my entire piece of cardstock. And I want to make sure it's easy to pull off. And I also am going to use the masking magic to help hold my cardstock in place when I do some ink blending. So that's why I'm cutting it this way. All right, just 2 more. So I'm just moving down 1/4 inch notches at a time. And 1 more, and I'll do 1 more. Okay. So I still have plenty here to save for another project if I want to cut a mask out of this, or if I want to stamp it and use it for masking things like flowers or other elements. All right, so now I'm going to get my MISTI, and I'm only using the MISTI for the markings on it. So I'm going to put the MISTI here at the 1-inch mark, and then it's going down here to about 5.5 inches. So 2 3/4 inches, 1, 2, and then 3/4 inches is about the middle. So what I'm going to do, I know that's the 3 3/4 inch mark, but I didn't want, I guess I could be here. So 2 3/4 inches would be right about here. So what I want to do is I want to line that up so my masking magic is kind of right in the, kind of overlapping on either side of that 2 3/4 inch mark right there. Okay. So let me, and this is just so that I can kind of get my windows even. So I'm going to just peel this apart here. Okay. And then I've got that up against that corner there. So I'm going to go to the 2 3/4 inch mark and just kind of go right over it there, like that. And then I'm going to lay it down on my cardstock. And I want to just see if that looks straight. So I can pull my cardstock up. Yep, that looks pretty straight. Okay, so now I'm going to move it this way so I can see it again. And now this is 4 inches. I'm going to go right at the 2-inch mark with another piece of masking magic. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go right over that 2-inch mark. And then I'm going to lay that down. And then I'm going to pull that up and make sure that that looks pretty even. And that does. That looks pretty even. Okay. So now I have that here. I'm going to get the rest of these. And I'm going to go around the border. So what I do is, I know that there's some splits on this Masking Magic somewhere, but just to make it easy and not have to try to see them with all the lights in my eyes, I just kind of roll off that part like that. All right, and I'm just going to go right up to the edge and lay that down. Now I'm going to turn it so I can see a little bit better. And I'm going to do this edge. Is everybody hearing and seeing okay, Tom?
I think so.
Okay, good. Oh gosh, it's so fun to go down memory lane and see some of those, the old packaging. So if you're out there watching, Sue, thank you for sending those stamps to me. That's really quite fun to see. I bet some of the people watching here probably have that stamp set. Right. So again, I'm going along the edge here, right up to the edge. And if there's a little bit of the edge showing, I'm not super worried about it because I am going to actually be trimming a little bit of that off as well. So hopefully this will be pretty straight. I always go the wrong way with this. I should turn it this way. Okay. And I know that there is, like I said, I know there's a split in this Masking Magic, but I don't know if it's in the same direction that I cut. Probably if I cut the other way, they would all be able to bend in half, and then there'd be that split, that easy peel. All right. But Masking Magic is a dream. I love it. I know I have another piece of cardstock laying around here somewhere. Oh, it's under my Misty. Because I'm going to use that to secure everything in place. So I hear that our kit that a lot of you are waiting for, and oh, I did this the wrong way again. And our Master Layouts dies are on their way. So that is exciting. So next week, I should be back playing with the kit again. All right, and so here's the last one. And now you can save these. You can reuse these because these will peel off fairly easily, and you can just put them on your next project. Okay, so there I have my window all set up, and I'm going to move the Misty out of the way. And then I'm going to use the Masking Magic just to hold everything in place for me. There we go. All right, so I'm going to do a rainbow, and I'm going to start with some red velvet ink. Red velvet is a great red for rainbows, but if you want to use a softer rainbow, coral reef is a great one too. And even red hot is just a little bit more orangey red, but this is the true red, the red velvet. So I have a blending brush here already covered with red, so that's my red brush. And I'm going to start up here at the corner, and I'm going to work my way down and blend some of that red ink along this corner, like that. Then I'm going to use some Tangerine Twist. I'll close that red. I'm going to use Tangerine Twist. And I'm going to add that Tangerine Twist in. You see how I started off the cardstock? I like to kind of come in on an angle. And then you can go back with the red and make that darker.
How many colors in our ink line?
How many colors? I believe we have 51 dye ink colors. 51. And then we have 6 amalgam colors, and 2 pigment ink colors. So can you do that math, Tom? No? No, he can't. So that's pretty close. So I'm going to be using some wild dandelion here. So 51, 6, that's 57 and 2, 58, 59. thought it was in the 60s though. Although we did retire jet black amalgam ink because it was so close to obsidian, and obsidian is a blacker black, and most people wanted that. So we understood that. Okay, so now I've got my yellow going here. I'm going to go back now and add some more orange into that. And we have a huge ink order on its way, but they're telling us that it's going to be closer to the end of July, early August before we get it. That company was in a part of the country that was shut down the longest. So now I'm going to use some Applemint, just a little bit of Applemint along that yellow line, just so that it's not too harsh of a blend, because Applemint is so light.
You want to explain the difference between amalgam and regular ink?
Sure. So our regular dye ink is great for all kinds of stamping. It's certainly amazing for ink blending. You get nice solid color. It's a water-based ink, so it is water reactive. If you spritz on that ink, it will kind of do the little white dots and things like that. You can watercolor with the re-inkers, or you can rub a little bit of ink onto an acrylic block. You know, just dab the pad on there and then spritz it with water and watercolor with it. Our amalgam ink is a little bit different. It is actually a combination of several different properties that create a type of ink that will work with all kinds of coloring products. So where our regular dye ink will work great with Copic markers because it is a water-based ink, and water-based inks work with alcohol-based mediums, it won't work with watercolor. It'll just smear. Amalgam ink will work with Copic markers, but it will also work with watercolors, and it will work with colored pencils and Gamsol. So you might notice this is sea glass I'm doing here, just right over that line. And then I'm going to finish it off with turquoise sea. So you might notice that some of the colors of amalgam ink are maybe even a little bit strange because they're super light, and then of course there's our chocolate truffle and our obsidian, which are a dark black and a dark brown. But the other colors are kind of light, and they're made for no-line watercolor, no-line Copic coloring, and no-line colored pencils. So when you color with them, you can see the line while you're coloring, but once you start to color, the line kind of disappears and it just kind of fades away. You don't see it anymore. And it just looks like you actually drew or painted the image. All right, look at that rainbow. Isn't that cool? All right, so now we have all of our colors of the rainbow. And now we're going to peel and reveal. Let me get my ink out of the way. Okay, so I'm going to start. It's kind of a puzzle here, the way I put it all together. So this one is definitely first. See, and you can see I can just reuse that. I can let that dry and I can save that and reuse that. So however you want to do that, you can keep the backing, or you can just put this right on. What I recommend is to put it like right on the stamp set that you like to use it with, because it will stick to the plastic, but there's nothing to pull up, so it won't get stuck forever. Okay, let's see what's next. I think this one is going to be next. You have to kind of see how it all layers. Oh, isn't that pretty? And then I'm going to go with this one next. Yeah, I think this is it. It's kind of like weaving. All right. There we go. And then I got this long middle one here. I think this would be the next one. And you could do this like to make really small squares too if you wanted, instead of rectangles. But isn't that so pretty? Look at that. My rainbow windows.
What tape is that?
This tape is Masking Magic. So I actually made the strips myself using the Masking Magic paper. It comes in 5x7 sheets and I just cut 1/4-inch strips. So you can make the strips as thick or as thin as you want, which is really nice. All right. So now I'm gonna trim this a little bit. So I'm going to trim this down. This is at 4 inches. So I'm going to take 1/8 of an inch off of each side. So this is going to go down to 3 7/8 over here. And then 3 3/4. So that kind of cleans up the edges a little bit. And I can refine it if it's not perfect. So I'm going to do the same thing over here. Just take 1/8 of an inch off each side. And again, I can refine it if it needs refining, which I think it probably will a little bit. Like I think I could probably take just a hair off more over here and a little bit off the top. But I didn't want to do too much because, you know, you can always cut more off, but you can't put more back on. I'll take a little bit off of here. There we go. So there is my window. Take a little bit more off of here. Oh my gosh. This is like what happened when I tried to cut my own bangs. You take a little bit off and then it doesn't look right on the other side and you take a little bit off and before you know it, you're in the freak show. Okay. So here's my rainbow window and you can do it either way. You can. So I'll do it with the red at the top. Now I'm going to use this stamp set because we're flashbacking here, Flashback Friday. This is called Birthday Blessings. And I really like this stamp set because I really like this leaf and this butterfly is kind of cool too. I like the bird too, but the bird just doesn't seem to fit unless I turned it. So I'm going to use just the leaf and the butterfly for this. And I've got my acrylic block here, and I'm going to need a little bit of black ink. And I put it somewhere, and I don't know where I put it. I think I might have, oh, here it is. Okay, so I'm going to use the dye ink for this. And I'll start with the leaf image. Okay, we'll start with that. That'll fit on there nicely. This would also fit pretty nicely onto our round block. Okay, so I'm just freehanding it here. So this is black onyx. I want to make sure it's nice and inky because I only get one shot. But I like the pattern in this. So I'm going to start this way. Okay, nice. Now, of course, you could do nice, fun, bold flowers. And if you really wanted to keep everything within the windows and you didn't want things going outside of the rectangles, you could leave the Masking Magic on and you could stamp all of your images. This way you could stamp a whole bunch of different things in each box. And then when you peeled off the Masking Magic, all the edges would be nice and clean and the image would stay inside. But I'm a big fan of things going outside of the lines. I just like that look. I don't mind that little overlap. I think it's kind of whimsical. Okay, so I'm going to get my tidy towel here. And then I'm going to get the butterfly. Now, of course, there's a lot of butterfly stamps in our collection, and there's nothing wrong with mixing and matching stamp sets. But I think I'll do this. And then, should I go in this way? And then, yeah, maybe I'll do that. Let's see how it looks.
Plans for new ink colors?
Yes, we do have plans for new ink colors. And we were starting to work on that when everything shut down. So we are, again, getting some of those things together. Cardstock takes the longest for us to figure out. So after we get our ink reorder in, then we'll be looking at starting with some new colors. And of course, we'll do ink pads, ink cubes, and re-inkers. Oh, isn't that cool? I love that. That is really fun. Okay. All right. So now I don't have a great measurement for this piece of cardstock. This is definitely free-handed. I can measure it on my paper cutter, but we'll have to see what that looks like here. All right, so yeah, see, it's like it's like 3 5/16. So that really is not helpful. So I think I'm going to cut this piece of cardstock at 3 7/8 to start, and we'll see where we go from there. Okay, because I want to put a black backing on this, but I don't want it to be too wide, and that looks a little wide to me. I don't like that. You know, I like the very, very thin borders. So we're going to just cut a little bit more off of that. We'll make it between the 3 3/4 and the 3 7/8. That's where we'll cut it.
Are the neon inks going to come in cubes?
No, we decided not to do the neon inks in cubes or pads. Instead, we decided to do something somewhere in between, which is the mega cube. So the mega cube is a great size for using with the wreath builder and the mandala maker. It's easy to hold in your hand, but it's also good for background stamps. So we decided to not do ink cubes for that, since we're almost in between a cube and a pad. All right, so I think that's going to look pretty good right there. All right. And then I have a little trick that I want to show you. So one of the things that I love to do if I want to use a word die, let's say I wanted to use a word here, but the word was white or it was black, and it just wasn't standing out as much as I want it to. One thing that I like to do in that case is use vellum. So the vellum that I really like is this vellum here. This is, wow, that's really close up, but this is called, let me pull the bag out. This is called Graphics Vellum, and it's the 24-pound clear vellum. So it's not really clear. It's a milky white, just like the vellums that you guys are used to seeing. They call it clear, but it's not clear. I like using this because it's very thin, and I think it's a really good quality. So I have a piece of it here I took out already. This is just one that I had used before. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to cut a 2-inch strip. Let me move my blending brushes out of the way. So I'm going to cut a 2-inch strip. Let's make sure my handle's all the way up. Let me move this over. Hopefully you guys can still see what I'm doing. Okay. So that looks pretty good. Okay, so I have this 2-inch strip. And then I want this strip to go across my card. And you see how it just lightens up the design. You still don't lose any of the design, but it gives you a little bit of a film there. And it kind of, I don't know, whatever you put on top is going to stand out a little bit more because it's not right up against that bright color. So I'm just going to trim this down a little bit with my paper cutter. So this, I'll cut it down to like 5 inches. Now, the biggest thing about vellum that's a pain for people is adhering it to your card, because unless you have like amazing vellum tape, which even though there are vellum tapes out there, I've never found them to be all that amazing, or you use something like brads to fasten it onto the top, you see the tape through it and it kind of ruins the look. Well, this is another reason why I really love this 24-pound vellum, because what I do is I just take a little bit of tape here. Can you see that? I'm going to put tape right there. And then I'm going to actually just fold that vellum right over the side of my cardstock and tape it, okay? So I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. But it's harder to do this with the thicker vellums. So a nice 24-pound vellum really makes a difference. And I'm going to fold it. You don't really even need to score it, and it gets really nice. It's like,
why do you use a paper cutter versus a slider? Do you need to sharpen the blade periodically?
you mean, why do I use a like a guillotine style paper cutter instead of one that has a sliding blade? I've never in my whole history of my life have I ever been able to cut straight with a sliding blade. There's something about it that I either put too much pressure. I'm going to just move this a little bit. I either put too much pressure, or I don't know what I do, but I have never been able to get a straight cut with a sliding blade. And I always get a pretty straight cut with the guillotine style. So that's what I've been using almost my entire stamping life. So I think that's what you mean. If you meant something different, let me know. But I think that's what you were asking me.
Are retired stamp sets done for good?
Well, some of them are done for good. So some of my retired stamp sets, we may bring back occasionally for like a in the vault kind of thing or out of the vault kind of thing. Some of the stamp sets by some of our illustrators, actually, we don't have the files anymore. I know Melanie had some of her old stamp sets, and then she had a computer crash, so she lost files. And when we switched over to clear, we couldn't get the files, so we couldn't really do them in clear, and that was part of the problem why they didn't move over with our line. Okay, so you can see now I'm taping down over that vellum, and that's just going to help prevent the little flaps from coming up. But we may occasionally bring something back from the vault if we can. Do you have a special request out there? Is there something that you've seen that you wish would come back? Because we might be able to do a limited edition. Okay. So that is the way that's going to look. Now I'm going to use a regular tentfold card here. And this is not going to be my traditional, even borders on the top and the bottom and the sides. This is going to be more where the borders on the sides are much wider than on the top or the bottom. But I think that's kind of a cool look. So I'm going to go with that. And I'm going to adhere that onto my card base. All right. This would be a cool kind of thing to do if you were doing one of those slimline cards too, because you could have more windows. You could do 6 windows, or you could do 8 windows going down and stamp them. I think that would be really fun. So if you guys are trying this, maybe you could try that layout too. Okay, so you can see now I have my vellum on there. It's all tucked in. It's all safe. It's not going to come out, but there's nothing blocking the front. Okay, so now it's time for a greeting. So what I'm going to do is I have this die, and I'm going to cut the word smile out using this die. So let me grab my my die cutting machine. Oh my goodness, I can't even think. And then if you want to switch over to the front shot, Tom, there we are. My hair is PJ ready tonight. I tried to pull it up in a knot on top of my head. You know how long it's been since I've pulled my hair up, and it wouldn't go up and things were falling. And I think I need one of those wig things where you pull your hair up into a little nub and then you tie the fake hair around and it makes a pretty bun. I'm going to look into one of those. I'm just a big lover of wigs. I don't know what it is. I just think they're really cool. All right, I'm going to cut the smile word out here. Now I just lost the die. Oh, here it is. So when you're cutting word dies out, for some reason, if you lay the word on its back and you put the cardstock on top, versus putting the cardstock down and putting the die on top, it seems to work better. I don't know why, but it absolutely seems to work better. And of course, the best thing that you can do when you've got these intricate words and things like that is if you need to shim it, add a little piece of cardstock in there and shim it. Or if you have something like the Gemini, where it's an electric die cutting machine, that's going to give you a ton of pressure. So you'll get a very, very good cut out of that. One thing that I have noticed is that if you run a die back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, sometimes you get frayed edges because the die is shifting just a little bit, and that's sometimes why you get those frayed edges. So I only cut this in one direction, and if you want to go to the overhead, they can see that cut out really nicely. Now, it does have a dot for the eye, and the dot is right here, but I'm not going to use that. There's the dot for the eye. I'm not going to use that. I'm going to actually use an embellishment instead. So I'm going to put this die cutting machine away. And now I'm going to cut a very, very small piece of this cardstock so that I can do a strip sentiment. Because what I'm going to use here is I have another stamp set somewhere around here. Here it is. So this is the stamp set that I'm going to use, and this is the coordinating stamp set for this die. So you can either die cut the word or you can stamp the word, depending on what look you're going for. Sometimes you might want it like embossed in gold or silver, something like that. So it's nice to have the word. But then all of these little strips work really well with either one. So I am going to use You Make My Heart Smile. Now, the right size strip for this, I think, is 1/4 inch is a little bit too skinny. I like it to be a little bit bigger than that. So I'm going to, if you can see this, I'm going to go to the 1/4 inch mark, and then I'm going to go down 1/8 of an inch. So that's going to be a 3/8 of an inch cut. Is that right? Again, math is not my forte. It's just not my forte. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this little image. You Make My Heart. Ooh, almost laid that right on my blending brush. All right. So for these strips, the best way to get them on your block straight is to lay them face down, and then using the acrylic block, there's a grid on there, and you can pick it up so that it's lined up straight with that grid. I just want to tell you, I'm going to take a minute here to tell you about these blocks. These are our comfort blocks, and if you've never tried these blocks, you have to try them. We get these custom made in sizes that we love, and there are no sharp edges on these blocks. Not only that, but it's got this little divot, this little indentation here, which helps you hold the block and not drop it. So it's a pretty cool little block. I'm going to pick that word up there. And that's a good way when you're like trying to put a strip sentiment on a block, it's very easy to bend it and then it's not straight. So if you lay it down and you pick it up with the block, it should be straight. Okay, so now I'm going to ink this up. You Make My Heart, and I'm going to stamp it. I might have to get my head in the way. I don't know. Is my head in the way? Tom?
I'm sorry.
Is my head in the way?
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't like the way that's stamped because I couldn't see it very well. So I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to stamp it again. Let's see here. I'm going to get my head in the way this time. Maybe. There we go. Okay. Sometimes that happens when I'm recording a video and I just get my head under there. You can see my roots. Oh. It's been a long time since I've been to a stylist. I'm excited though, because Rena is working her way through beauty school, and soon she's going to be able to cut hair, and I am going to be one of her first customers. All right, so I'm going to just trim this down a little bit, and I'm just eyeballing it where I think I want it to be cut down. I'm just going to trim a little bit more off of this side, just a little. Okay, so let's see how that looks. Does that look pretty straight? That looks pretty good. Okay. So now I want this to be a little flag. So I'm going to get my Tim Holtz scissors here. These are my good ones. And I'm going to cut toward the center of this greeting. Let's see if I can zoom in just a little bit here. Okay. So I'm going to cut right toward the center of the greeting on one side. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side.
What's the brand of that cutter?
It's called a We Are Memory Keepers cutter. I also, if you can't find that one, I really like the Tim Holtz one. I really love his paper cutter. And I really like it more now. I had the red one, and then he redid these tools in black, and I love it. Okay, that was a bad cut on Gina's part, though. Okay, that's going to have to be close enough. All right, so now I have my little flag. And if you have a flag die, you can always cut it out with that too. But I like this size, like this size thickness here for this, because here's what I want to do. I want to do something fancy. So what I want to do is I want to slip this through here like this.
What scissors did you use?
I used the Tim Holtz scissors. So I'm going to do something like that with it. Isn't that kind of cute to have it like loop through there? I cut another one earlier and looks about the same. I might have, I think what I'm going to do though is I'm going to take this smile and I'm going to glue them together. So now you can see me struggle. So I'm going to get some Connect glue, and so I have my Connect glue here, and what I'm going to do is, I hope I don't have a lot of junk on my hands. I'm going to do some little dots here. Make sure I'm on the screen. So these are tiny little microscopic dots, because I just want to thicken this up. So I'm going to use 2 of them, and I'm going to stick them together. And this might seem a little harder than it actually is, because the glue takes a little while to dry, so it's forgiving. So if you can just pick the other one up. So I can, smush these together over here and not worry about what's going on down here. And I can take my time. So I get it together there, and I line it all up so it's nice. Then I'm going to work on the M. Make sure that's nice, and then get my I together, and then my L, and then finally my E. This is another great mojo starter. If you don't know what to do, cut out a bunch of words and double or triple them. It's just nice because they're a little bit thicker and they're a little easier to handle, and they seem to pop off the card just a little bit better. So let's see here. So now if I slip that in here, like that, and then I just kind of pull it up and do the smile like that. I think that's just cute. That's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to attach the whole thing with glue to the vellum. So let's just do that. Now remember, this glue, it goes on white, but it does dry clear, which is great. So if you get it somewhere where you don't want it, or it oozes out a little bit, once it dries, you won't see it anymore. And you can see I am not using a lot of glue. I am using just a little bit of glue. You don't need to slather the glue all over, because it's really nice sticky glue. And I might have to pull that S back on the other side, but let's see what happens. Let's see how it lays onto this vellum. All right. So I'm going in. Wish me luck. I didn't want to put any on the front yet, so make sure that that is where I want it, in the center. Okay. I can pull this out. Let's pull this out and just pull that M. There we go. Okay. There we go. All right. Now that I have that where I want it, I'm going to dot my I using one of these little black hearts. I love these little black and white heart, and they're clay, and they just make the cutest little embellishments. And my whole reason why I love these so much, I just have a few of them here in this little dish because I use them so much. I just want to pop it right touching on that eye. And it's cute because, you know, the greeting says, "You make my heart smile," and this is a little heart. So I kind of like the way it all goes together. All right. So people are smart that I've seen making cards, and they have cute little tweezers for this job. I don't have tweezers for this job, so I just had to use my finger. But there we go. So there is my finished card. And I think the vellum is nice because it just sets the card, it just sets that whole rainbow window back, and it makes you focus a little bit more on the greeting. So isn't that fun? I do not think I have time to make another card tonight. I didn't know how long this one was going to take, but I guess that is my finished card project for the night. So you guys have to try these rainbow windows, and I would love to see somebody try it on a slimline style. I think that would be really fun to just have windows going all the way down and fill them with different things. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about our Facebook group. We have a great Facebook group. It's called Gina K Designs and Stamp TV Friends. So if you go on Facebook and you type that into the search bar, our group will come up. Come on over and join our group. It is a super supportive group filled with crafters and stampers from all different levels. Some just started stamping not that long ago, and some have been stamping for 20 or more years. And everybody's really supportive. We ask questions, and all the members jump in with great advice and great answers. And if you post a card project in there, you're going to get a lot of love because people are very, very supportive over there. It kind of reminds me of the old Stamp TV group that we used to have. We used to have a website called Stamp TV, and it's the same kind of feel over there. It is a private group, so you don't have to worry. Your privacy is protected when you're in there. And we will, you do have to request to join, and then one of our moderators will let you in. So I hope you'll think about joining. Now, if you're watching me on YouTube, I never say this, but I guess I should let you guys know there is a subscribe button on my YouTube channel. So if you go right over to my YouTube channel, and you can get that if you're not on the YouTube channel, like right under the screen, you'll see my profile picture and it'll say Gina K Designs. You can click on that. It'll take you to my YouTube channel. You can subscribe there, and then you'll always get notifications when I have new videos or if I'm going live. So there's a lot of different ways to find me, but we try to stream everything everywhere. So no matter where you're watching, you won't miss out. So today's theme was trust the journey. And I have a quote that I found. I actually posted this in my Instagram story, but I loved it so much that I thought I would say it here on my live. So it's PJ party. We're all in our PJs. We're going to relax, maybe have a cup of sleepy time tea, something like that, and kick back and relax and fall asleep tonight with nothing but love and forgiveness in your heart. What's meant for you will be for you tomorrow and the day after. And trust your journey, rest your soul. Thank you guys so much for joining me tonight. I had so much fun making this card with you. I'll be posting good quality pictures over in our Facebook group, so head over there and join so that you can see the better quality photos. And please, if you're making these cards, share them. What you made in our group, I would love to see your work too. All right, everybody, we will be back on Monday night for a Mix It Up Monday. I'll probably be back digging into our brand new kit and coming up with some fun technique or card project for you. So in the meantime, stay safe. Don't forget to wear a mask. Love you all, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.